A millionaire decided to offer shelter for a night to a homeless man during a heavy storm. The next day, when she walked to the guest room to check on her guest, she was stunned by what she saw. Meanwhile, the house was illuminated by a flash of lightning, followed by a deafening thunder that echoed through every room, making Dona Marta jump in fright. Trembling, she realized that an electrical panel was flashing because of the storm and, afraid to use the elevator, decided to climb the stairs slowly. When she arrived at the movie theater, she found her son Enrique laughing loudly at a comedy film. She turned on the light, interrupting his fun, which immediately irritated him. "Geez, Mom, can't you see I'm watching?" "Turn off that light," he said, without even looking at her. Marta, worried, replied, "Son, the rain is very heavy and it won't stop. It would be better to turn off the appliances. If they burn out, I don't know how we'll pay to fix them." Enrique, impatient, grumbled, "Oh, Mom, don't start with that now. A simple projector is nothing compared to what we have in the house." Dona Marta insisted, "Enrique, you know that our financial situation is not the best. We can't take advantage of it. And besides, I don't like to be alone at these times. I'm preparing dinner and would like your company in the kitchen." Reluctantly, Enrique gave in, turned off the appliances, and went into the kitchen with his mother. "I hope it's something tasty, because I'm starving," he commented. Marta replied, "I'm making chicken stroganoff. Will that work?" He replied, "I told you not to fire the cook, but let's go ahead, chicken stroganoff then." While Marta cut the chicken breast, Enrique began to talk about his travel plans. "Everyone is excited to go to Las Vegas next week," he said enthusiastically. Dona Marta shook her head in disapproval. "Las Vegas, son? And where do you plan on getting the money for that?" The young man smiled and replied nonchalantly, "Oh, I'll take it from the loan you took out. About 100,000 won't be missed." Marta, feeling her fury grow, could hardly believe what she heard. "Are you crazy, Enrique? We can't afford it," she exclaimed, trying to bring her son back to reality. "You know very well that I put this house up as collateral to get that loan, and even so, I don't know if it will be enough to pay the employees and suppliers. If we don't control ourselves immediately, I really don't know where we're going to end up," Marta continued, trying to make her son aware of the difficult situation they were facing. The good times had long since passed, but Enrique didn't seem to mind changing his lifestyle. "Oh, Mom, don't come with that. I've already arranged everything with the guys. I even bought the ticket with a company card. You're going to have to come up with that money somehow," Enrique insisted, showing no concern. Upon hearing that her son had spent money on the company card again for frivolous reasons, Dona Marta became deeply irritated. However, before she could start an argument, the shrill sound of the doorbell echoed through the house, interrupting the conversation. They were both intrigued. After all, they hadn't expected anyone to visit that night, especially during such a heavy storm. "Who could it be at this hour?" Marta asked, frowning. "We'd better look at the cameras, Mom," Enrique suggested. They went to the monitor and were surprised to see, on the screen, an unkempt-looking man with long hair and a beard, obviously dirty and wet, taking shelter from the rain under the gate's cover. "I'm going to open the door," Marta decided, determined. "Are you crazy, Mom?" "Of course not. Do you know this man? He must be just another hungry beggar, and that stroganoff you're making is barely enough for both of us. Leave him outside. The rain will soon stop and he'll go away," Enrique replied, without empathy. Marta and Enrique were like water and oil. She was always willing to help others, while he only thought of himself. Since her husband's death, which occurred about 5 years ago, both of their lives had changed completely. Marta believed that Enrique would take over the shoe company that she and her husband had founded more than a decade ago with responsibility. But over the years, Enrique proved to be far from being a good manager. He began to make large withdrawals from the company without his mother's knowledge, spending the family's wealth on trips, luxury cars, parties, gambling, and women. Overcome by grief, Marta was slow to realize the mistake of trusting her son so much, and only understood the gravity of the situation when a supplier showed up at her house to collect a huge debt. "What do you mean we owe all this?" "Enrique, you told me the payments were up to date." Marta exclaimed, shocked. Yes, ma'am, the supplier replied. The only reason we didn't cut off the supply was because we were partners with your husband for many years. But since his death, the delays have been constant. Now, there have been more than 3 months of unfulfilled promises. If we don't receive payment by this week, we will have to end our partnership and file a lawsuit to collect what is owed to us. Determined to solve the problem, Marta went to the company and discovered that the situation was even worse than she had imagined. In addition to debts with suppliers, employees were in arrears, and some had even sued the company, claiming that management had worsened after Enrique took over. Marta learned that her son had emptied the company's cash register, leaving the accounts in the red. To make matters worse, he had lost millions in gambling and bought several luxury cars, which he kept hidden in a garage, lying to her about the financial situation. Determined to save what was left of the family legacy, Marta confronted Enrique and took control of the business again. She immediately sold all the luxury cars, although she had to do so at a price well below market value in order to raise money quickly. With this, she was able to pay some of the employees, but the debt was still significant. She then cut all unnecessary expenses and fired employees who did not work directly at the company, including the French cook that Enrique had hired. Even so, the outstanding balance remained enormous, forcing her to take out $1 million loan. And to get that money, she had to offer the mansion as collateral, the house she and her husband had worked so hard to build. Back in the present, Marta reflected on her choices, worried about the future. God, I hope I can pay off this loan, or we'll lose our house too, she thought. Enrique, who had returned from the camera to the kitchen, noticed that his mother was determined to open the door and talk to the man who was still waiting outside, braving the relentless rain. Mom, what are you doing? Enrique said, exasperated. I'm going to see what he wants, Enrique. I can't leave the poor guy out in the rain, Marta replied firmly, adding, in a tone that mixed resentment and frustration, we're already in debt because of your irresponsibility. Enrique huffed, irritated. Oh, you're not going to use that excuse now to help a beggar, are you, Mom? He's already taken out a loan, sold my cars. Relax, everything will be fine. Forget about this man. Finish the stroganoff and leave him where he is, he insisted, his voice full of impatience. But Marta didn't listen to her son. Determined, she opened the door, grabbed an umbrella, and went to the soaked man who was sheltering under the small awning. When she looked at the stranger's face, she felt a shiver run through her body. Something about that man seemed familiar. Funny, I feel like I know him from somewhere, she thought. Breaking the silence, the man spoke, his voice trembling with cold. Oh, thank goodness you opened the door. It's so cold out here. Can I come in? Henry, realizing the situation, ran to the door. Mom, come back now, he exclaimed, agitated. Marta hesitated, but before she could react, the man turned his gaze directly to Henry, who looked away, avoiding eye contact. Son, he's cold, can't you see? Marta said, trying to appeal to the boy's empathy. Henry, desperate to get his mother away from the stranger, quickly suggested. Okay, if the problem is the cold, we'll give him a coat, and he'll go away, he suggested impatiently. The man, however, remained calm. Actually, I wanted to go in. I need to warm up a little, can I? Henry huffed angrily. He was about to explode, but before he could say anything else, he saw his mother nod her head, inviting the man to come in. Let's get this over with, Enrique. Come in, sir. Welcome to our home, Marta said in a gentle tone. Enrique couldn't believe what he was seeing. How could his mother just let a stranger in so naturally? He knew that arguing there, in the backyard, in the rain, would be useless, so he decided to go inside the house. As soon as the three of them entered, the man, with a small backpack on his back, asked to use the bathroom. Marta pointed out where it was, and Enrique took the opportunity to confront his mother. What were you thinking, letting that dirty beggar come into our house? He could be dangerous, Mom, he snapped, his voice full of anger and concern. Marta calmly replied, My son, did you take a good look at him? This man is harmless, you can see it in his eyes. But he was carrying a backpack. Did you see that too? Who knows what he's carrying in there? It could be anything, even a gun, insisted Enrique, even more nervous. Marta just smiled, calm. Calm down, Enrique. I'm sure he's not. And you know what? I let him in because I feel like I've seen him before. It's like I already know him. Enrique continued to complain, insisting that his mother throw the man out as soon as he left the bathroom. But Marta was determined, and nothing Enrique said would change what she intended to do. Where is that delicious smell coming from? Asked the homeless man as he left the bathroom, taking a deep breath of the aroma that filled the house. Marta smiled and replied, "Oh, I'm making chicken stroganoff. Do you like it?" The face of Gabriel, the strange visitor, lit up with a wide smile, revealing surprisingly well-kept teeth, something that caught the attention of Marta and Enrique. "Do I like it? I love it," exclaimed Gabriel enthusiastically. Enrique could already imagine what would come next and gave his mother a disapproving look, anticipating her reaction. And it didn't take long for Marta to confirm his suspicions. "I'm going to put another plate on the table. You're our guest for dinner." Gabriel, however, hesitated, seeming uncertain about the invitation. "Thank you very much, ma'am, but I think I'd better go. You've already helped me a lot, letting me use the bathroom and warm up a little. Besides, your son doesn't seem very comfortable with my presence. I really appreciate it, but I'd better go. I'll find another way to get by." For some reason, Marta felt an inexplicable desire to help that man. And, with a calm expression, she insisted, "Of course Enrique is comfortable, isn't he, son?" Enrique took a deep breath, trying not to displease his mother, and answered reluctantly, "Yes, you can stay for dinner." A few minutes later, the table was set. Marta, who had long had only her son's company, felt happy to have someone different to share the meal with. "Oh, I just realized I didn't even ask your name. How rude of me," Marta exclaimed. The man smiled kindly. "My name is Gabriel. Nice to meet you," he said. For a moment, Marta was perplexed. She couldn't remember having mentioned her name to the guest, but she decided not to question it. Enrique also introduced himself, still suspicious, while the three sat down to enjoy their meal. While they ate, Enrique couldn't help but watch Gabriel out of the corner of his eye, trying to understand the enigma that the man represented. "He looks pretty good for a beggar. What perfume could that be? Did he steal it from someone?" he thought, still full of judgment and suspicion. Gabriel, in turn, seemed to enjoy the environment. His eyes scanned the walls, stopping at the paintings that decorated the house. "You have great taste in art," he commented, pointing to one of the main works in the room. "That's a very special piece, of great cultural value." Marta and Enrique were surprised. Every word that came out of Gabriel's mouth seemed to indicate a cultured and well-educated man, very different from what they had expected. Enrique wondered silently, how does this guy know so much about art? The curiosity and mystery surrounding Gabriel grew with each moment, challenging their first impressions and leading them both to question who he really was. Enrique gave the visitor a suspicious look. His father was a great art lover, and most of the paintings that adorned the walls of the house had been acquired at auctions. So he decided to investigate a little further. "It seems that you have a good knowledge of art. How did you learn all this?" Enrique asked, trying to better understand the man sitting at his table. The visitor gave a slight smile, as if remembering something distant, and replied, "Life has given me some opportunities to learn over time. I have always been fascinated by everything that is beautiful and expressive." Enrique, still suspicious, decided to press a little further. "And what brought you here? How did you end up in this situation?" Although he avoided using the word beggar, the meaning of his question was clear. The man sighed deeply before answering, choosing his words carefully. "Life takes us down unexpected paths. Sometimes we lose everything we have in the blink of an eye. But I believe that every experience, no matter how difficult, brings with it a lesson." Dinner continued for a few more minutes, and Gabriel, with his cordial demeanor, had already won Marta's sympathy. When he finally got up to leave, the rain that was already falling heavily intensified even more. Marta looked at the storm outside, worried, and said, "In this weather, you're going to get all wet. We have a guest room, and it wouldn't be wise to leave now. Please stay here tonight." Henry frowned, clearly uncomfortable with the idea. Mom, don't you think we've done enough? He can leave when the rain lets up. And besides, he must be used to situations like this, said Henry, trying to contain his irritation. But Marta, determined, replied,
No, son.
We can't send him away in this storm. He's going to stay in the guest room, and that's not up for discussion. Faced with Marta's insistence and the storm outside, Gabriel hesitated, but ended up accepting the invitation. Thank you very much, Mrs. Marta. I accept your generosity and I promise I'll leave before sunrise, he said. After a few more minutes of conversation, Marta showed Gabriel the room where he would be staying and retired to her own room, trying to reassure herself that nothing would go wrong. Enrique, on the other hand, couldn't relax. His thoughts were fixed on the stranger, and no matter how hard he tried, sleep wouldn't come. He tossed and turned in bed, restless. My mother must not be in her right mind. How can she let this man sleep here at home? What if he tries to go to her room in the middle of the night? Thought Enrique, disturbed. Consumed by this concern, he got up silently, knowing where the spare key was, and locked his mother's room from the outside, determined to protect her. Then he hesitated for a moment in front of the door of the room where the guest was, but decided not to approach him. Then he went back to his room. A few hours passed, and with the early hours of the morning, sleep continued to elude him. Restless, Enrique decided to check on his visitor again. I need to make sure he's asleep. Only then will I be able to rest in peace, he muttered to himself. Barefoot, he walked to the guest room and, as he approached the door, peeked through the keyhole. To his surprise, he saw Gabriel sitting on the bed, taking a cell phone out of his backpack. Enrique was surprised to see him awake, but what left him even more astonished was the device he was holding, a very expensive cell phone model, completely incompatible with the appearance of someone he believed to be homeless. Unaware that he was being watched, the man began to speak on the phone in a low but firm tone. Yes, everything is under control. There were no problems. I managed to talk to them. I'll be home soon and we'll sort this out. Enrique, now more suspicious than ever, silently retreated to his mother's room. Mom, wake up. We need to call the police now. This guy tricked us. He's not a beggar at all,
He said nervously.
Marta woke up startled, rubbing her eyes. Enrique, what are you talking about, son? What do you mean? What happened? She asked worriedly. I saw it, Mom. The scoundrel has a very expensive cell phone and was talking strangely to someone. I don't know what he's up to, but it's not good, insisted Enrique. Still hesitant, Marta decided it was best to investigate before making any hasty decisions. The two of them went together to the guest room. When they opened the door, they were horrified. The room was empty, and the man had disappeared. Henry's heart raced. I knew it. I told you, Mom. You didn't listen to me. He's a thief. He must be stealing something on the property, or he already took what he wanted and left. His father's paintings. I'm sure he took his father's paintings, he exclaimed, agitated. Marta stood still for a moment, trying to process the situation. Had she made a mistake in offering shelter to that apparently helpless man? Henry began to check the paintings and other valuables in the house, but everything seemed to be in its place. If it wasn't the paintings, what did he want? And where did he go? He murmured, confused. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. They ran to the security camera monitor and, to their surprise, saw Gabriel outside. But he was no longer the same worn-out man from the night before. He was now completely different, impeccably dressed in a suit, with his hair neatly combed and his beard clean-shaven. How could he have changed so much in such a short time? Who was that man really? Marta and Enrique looked at each other, stunned, but decided to go to the gate to open it. When the man entered, even his way of walking seemed different. Marta, with a serious look, asked, Who are you really? Last night you came to my house asking for help, and now you show up like this? The man smiled slightly and began to explain. Sorry for the scare. The truth is that I recently moved to the house next door. Last night, my car broke down, and since I had forgotten the keys at the company, I had nowhere to go. I saw you through the window and thought I would ask for help, since the curtains were open and maybe you remembered me, since we had already crossed paths the other day. Of course, I looked very different. My clothes got dirty while I was trying to fix the car, and my hair was a mess from the rain. I tried to explain everything, but I think you misunderstood, and I ended up getting into character, impressed by the kindness of the lady, Mrs. Marta. Enrique, skeptical, did not buy the story. And the cell phone? Earlier, I saw you talking strangely to someone, he asked, without letting his guard down. Gabriel took a deep breath and calmly answered, "Oh, I was talking to my wife. I told her about everything that happened and that I had already arranged for someone to pick up the car. She is traveling with our daughter and will be moving here soon." Enrique was still hesitant to believe him, but Gabriel, now with the keys to his house in hand, invited mother and son to go to his residence. There, he proved that everything he said was true. Marta, realizing her mistake, apologized for her suspicions and insisted that Enrique also apologize. Gabriel, however, was kind. "The only one who owes an apology is me. I should have told you the truth from the beginning, especially since I was a great friend of your late father, Dona Marta." Enrique got excited. "Did you know my father?" Gabriel nodded, with a slight smile. "Yes, I knew your father, Enrique. He helped me a lot when I was in college. That's why I bought the house next door, but I was waiting for my wife to come back from her trip so I could have dinner and invite them over, and then tell the whole truth." Enrique, finally understanding, felt a mixture of surprise and relief. Marta smiled, now aware that she had made the right decision in taking Gabriel in the night before. Marta, still stunned, asked, "What exactly are you talking about?" Gabriel took a deep breath and continued, "The truth is that I needed to find a way to repay the help your husband gave me in the past. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be where I am today. When I heard about your situation, I knew it was time to act." To Marta and Enrique's surprise, Gabriel had made $1 million investment in the family business, saving it from imminent bankruptcy. In addition, he used his vast experience to help the company grow, bringing new opportunities and stability. Gabriel also became a mentor to Enrique, teaching him how to manage money wisely and avoid spending like there was no tomorrow. As time went by, Enrique ended up getting closer to Gabriel's daughter, and a relationship blossomed between them. This connection naturally strengthened the bonds between the two families. Marta, in turn, had the chance to meet one of Gabriel's brothers, to whom she felt comfortable opening her heart. Thus, what began as a simple request for shelter during a storm turned into a new and unexpected family, united by bonds of affection and gratitude. And if you liked this moving story, you'll certainly be delighted with the next video that is appearing on your screen. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our next stories. A big kiss, and until next time.